What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Canadian Football Fantasy Fix for Week 13 of the 2021 CFL season. I'm Ryan Coop here with your defensive preview this time around. If you missed it, go back, check out the quarterback, running back, and wide receiver previews I already put out this week. And stay tuned on Friday. I'll have depth chart updates for all of the games on Week 13 as well to get you all set for locking in your CFL fantasy lineups. Let's dive right in and take a look at the available options at defense this week. Top defense in the league, Winnipeg Blue Bombers, are not available to pick. They are on a bye this week, but there are still some interesting options available. Let's take a look at them top price to lowest. And it starts off with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They come in at $4,979. If you're looking to get 2.5 points per $1,000 you spend on them, you're looking to get 12.4 points. That's kind of the value I use to determine whether a pick hits full value or not, as if they can hit at least that threshold, because that will help you get a 100-point week. The Riders, to get 12.4 is what you're looking for. 10 games on the year, they're averaging 9.2. Last week against Calgary, they put up 11. They've put up 9 or more in 4 of their last 5 games. So the Riders' defense has been pretty consistently putting up solid performances this year. I'm saying stay away from them though this week, because as the most expensive defensive option, you need the highest total out of them, and they have a tough matchup facing the Montreal Alouettes, who, besides the Bombers, give up the lowest average point total to defenses out of anybody. Just 5.5 points on average is what teams are scoring against Montreal, and since with the defense being so good there, or the offensive line for Montreal, I don't like the matchup here for Saskatchewan. I think they'll put up a couple points on the day, but it won't be worth your value. So I say stay away. Red light on the Riders defense. The option that gets the green light for me this week, the go-to number one option, is the Hamilton Tiger Cats. $3,797. They average 9.5 points a game, which is third best behind Winnipeg and Montreal on the season. And they have a very juicy matchup with the Edmonton Elks, who give up 11.1 on averages to defense. So Edmonton has turned the ball over quite a bit. They've given up a lot of sacks, and Hamilton's defense has played pretty darn good at stretches throughout this season. Just looking at their recent performances, 3 of their last 5 games have been 14 points or more. 5 of their last 7 have been 14 points or more. They had 1 9-point game in the middle there, and 2 5-point games against Toronto. So, a slow start to the year for the Ticats defense, but in the recent weeks, they've been a go-to pick, and $3,797 is still a very reasonable price for them. They're averaging the 9.5 points you're looking to get through 10 games on the year. Put that together with a very good matchup with Edmonton. Yeah, I like Hamilton as the best defensive option of the week. A couple options here in the middle that I'm kind of cautious on. Yellow light. Should you go with it? Should you not? It starts with Montreal, 3,718 of the available options this week. Highest average on the year. They're averaging 9.7, and they've played pretty good as of late. Last 2 games putting up 23 and 20-point performances. They faced the Saskatchewan Roughriders for the first time this season, and it makes me a little bit cautious just based on the matchup there. If there was an easier matchup, like one against Edmonton or Ottawa, so to say, then I'd green-light Montreal's defense. They've been playing real well as of late, but the Riders' offense doesn't really give up a ton of turnovers necessarily. They did allow 9 points against Calgary last week, but other than that, in recent games, it's been 3, 5, 5, and 3 in the 4 games prior to that team's been scoring against them. So one of the better defenses, or one of the better teams against defenses in the league, is Saskatchewan. Much like I don't like the matchup of the Riders against Montreal, I don't love the matchup of Montreal against the Riders here, and I like it a little more given the cheaper price and the level they've produced at, but not enough to say, yes, this is an absolute lock-in pick for week number 13. Next one is Calgary Stampeders. They've got the best matchup of the week, 13.8 points a game defenses are scoring against Ottawa, but Calgary's defense themselves haven't exactly lit it up this year. They've been better in the last few games, putting up 17 points and 9 points in the past two, and they'll be getting a big piece in the defense this week, I believe, with Trey Roberson rejoining the team. I believe he is ready to go to be in the lineup this week, but we'll have to make sure when the depth charts come out. Yeah, Calgary's defense has turned things around a little bit in recent weeks, which is encouraging to see, which makes this probably a pretty safe play to go with this week in the Stampeders, especially with that matchup with Ottawa. You know, Ottawa turns the ball over so often that you just rack up the points. They also don't score a ton, so you can get some points from that perspective there. The reason I'm still cautious on Calgary's defense is, yes, they've been better in the last 2 weeks, but other than that, they're averaging, overall they're averaging 5.8 on the season, and it's definitely skewed by those last few performances, because other than a 12-point game against Edmonton in week 6, before 2 weeks ago, their highest point total was, I believe, 5 points on the year. So I'm not sold on Calgary's defense as a fantasy option just yet. So I'm saying be cautious there. I'm also saying be cautious on Toronto's side of things. Much like Calgary, they haven't exactly lit it up on a consistent basis defensively. They had that massive 29-point game against Ottawa back in week 10, and that's really been it for the Argos. Their highest total other than that has been 8 on the year. Last game against Montreal, -1. So not normally a team that's producing you high point totals on the year. Their average is definitely skewed by that big 29-point performance against Ottawa a couple of weeks ago. They have a good matchup with BC, who has been giving up some big totals in recent weeks. In their last 4 games, the Lions have given up 12, 12, 17, and 22, and seem to be reeling a little bit. So the matchup there is good for Toronto, but normally Toronto's defense isn't a go-to pick. So I put that in the yellow-white category there for the Argos as well. Stay away from Edmonton's defense, 3.6 point average through 9 games. They're also facing a Ticats team that's been a little bit, hasn't given up as high of totals, especially in recent weeks. In their last 5 games, they had 1 week where they gave up 9, and then other than that, 4-1, 4-1 in the 4 other weeks there. So Ticats have not been giving up a ton of turnovers or sacks necessarily, and Edmonton doesn't put up a ton of them themselves. So stay away from the Elks defense. I'm also saying stay away from BC. They were one of the top teams earlier in the year. They were averaging around 9 points a game, and now their season average is down to 6. And if you want more reasons why to stay away from them, in their past 4 games, they have put up a combined 3 points. In their past 3 games, a combined -2. The Lions' defense has just dropped off the deep end, and so has the rest of the team, it seems, in recent games. And yes, Toronto does tend to turn the ball over a little more often than other teams do, but I don't like the Lions matchup based on what I've seen from them in recent weeks. You certainly don't want a low total, and you certainly don't want a minus in your lineup. And Toronto's got some great passing attack that could light this team up. So stay away from the Lions this week as well. And then the final option is the Ottawa Red Blacks, and I say yellow light on them because you never truly know what you're going to get. Last week they put up 1 point. In the 4 weeks before that, 10, 10, 13, and 7. And in all of the games before that, not against Edmonton, a combined 3 fantasy points in 5 games. So it's been an up and down year for Ottawa on defense. They face a Calgary team where Bo Levi Mitchell has struggled and thrown his fair share of picks this year, to be fair, and hasn't really lit up a defense necessarily. But you never know what you're going to get from Ottawa, so I say be cautious there. And I think there are some other good defensive plays around the same price point with a better matchup than what Ottawa has. So those are your options at defense for week number 13. Hamilton's the one I love. I think there's some other good ones there, like that Calgary matchup against Ottawa might just be too tough to ignore. Same thing with the Toronto matchup against BC. But those are some of the things you need to weigh. Consistent performances versus juicy matchup. How do you weigh that when you pick a defense or set your lineup in general is the question each and every week. As I mentioned off the top, go back, check out quarterback, running backs, and wide receiver previews. I go through all of the options at each of those positions, help you set the rest of your lineup so you can figure out maybe which defense you can fit into there as well. And stay tuned for the depth chart update out on Friday. Do all the YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't. If you have any fantasy questions, put them in the comments section or tweet them at me at CooperTrooper42 on Twitter. You can find a link to that in the description. And also in the description, if you're interested in playing CFL Fantasy alongside myself and other viewers, there is a link there to the Canadian Football Fantasy Fix group over on the official CFL Fantasy site. Play alongside myself and other viewers this week and every week throughout the 2021 CFL season. As always, thanks for watching. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.